This is Argue for Anarchy. I want to start by saying that I want to be very careful how and what I say because I know that I can cause more harm than good. Just like at work, this is a job too, and it may not be as catastrophic as cutting into a pipe while there's 150, 200 pounds of pressure in it and blowing someone up, but these topics are more than just philosophical. They're more than just ideas because these are actually happening in the world. These ideas include mass mind control. These ideas include slavery. And it's not just something to talk about to pass time. Natural law. That's what the topic is. That's what we're going to be learning about the Trivium and the Quadrivium. These are things that were once common knowledge. But as you'll see as we get into we'll get into it. You'll see that in the Trivium, the Quadrivium. You'll also see it in the natural law expressions that we're going to see in the world. In this Trivium, we have an input, processing, and output. In the Quadrivium, we have a available info, decision making, human behavior, and manifested reality that stack on each other. They depend on each other. This input of the Trivium is gathering up as much information as you can, all the available knowledge, and you're not going to judge it or be saying it's trash. And then it's going to be raw data, like who, what, when, where. So you got the processing after that. You process all the data. It's just sifting through everything that can be considered trash and just a poison to your brain and body. Like, you don't want to focus on that shit. Why? That question. Once you process everything, you're able to figure things out. What's the purpose, the reason, the meaning? Yeah, around this time, we have the Quadrivium decision making. The decision making is based on the available information. And that decision making is our human behavior. And that behavior manifests reality. Which is why the Trivium's third phase is output, speech and action. Well, the behavior, and then we have the manifested reality. So to be clear, in the Trivium, the first phase is gathering information. The first phase of the Quadrivium is all the information. The second phase in the Trivium is processing. The second in the Quadrivium is decision making, which leads to the human behavior, which is the output on the Trivium. The manifested reality. Now, this manifested reality is based on a generative energy. This principle of generation. It is another word for production, what's being produced. And there's a polarity in love, which is fear. It's totally opposite of love. I'm not going to skip back and forth like I did Trivium and Quadrivium on these two polarities. I'm going to go ahead and show the love, the positive expressions of natural law, and then I'm going to go through the negative expressions of natural law. The positive expressions. Love, that is the generative force. That leads to this initial expression of knowledge, having knowledge. Which leads to the internal expression of sovereignty. Then the external expression of freedom leads to the generative principle. It leads to order and good, the generative expression and manifestation. Order and good. The negative expressions. The generative force or polarity is fear. The negative expression of natural law initially from fear is ignorance. The internal expression is confusion. The external expression of negative natural law expressions is control. The generative expression of negative natural law expressions is chaos and evil. That is what manifests when fear, the negative natural law expression, is cultivated. And given to the masses to live on. Fear. It leads to ignorance. Because knowledge would be power. Once you know you're free, you are your own dominator. You are your own authority. Authority outside of you. That is a claim of ownership. You don't have to listen and do what other people tell you to do. Especially if it's gonna support a slave system. And yes, I do mean even financially, because the military and the police wouldn't be able to get paid if they didn't have our stolen money called taxes. The love would allow knowledge, would allow people to know that they have the potential to create something that we can't even imagine. With our sovereignty and our freedom. That is order and good. There's a way to do it. When we talk about goals are important because goals are everything we aspire to do and be. And goals are to be shared to an audience. Well, not goals, but specifically this idea from a higher power, from this higher will, this source of creation wants total freedom and wants justice and doesn't want self-induced suffering. So I say this will, this higher will, where a goal represents the will of, like, the individual's will is a goal. And when the goal aligns to the higher will, well, that's righteous. I will say that. That is something that other goals, like trying to pay your rent on time, doesn't. Well, I guess it would, because it's housing you and you're doing the great work. But like if you're not trying to do good for the world and for the betterment of humanity, selfish desires, selfish will, that leads to a different type of manifestation than a will that wants to make the world a better place. And these are examples of the polarity of love and fear, because it is really hard and really anxious, especially and like to comprehend all this stuff, and then to know that you have to actually teach people it can make you not even want to start. Like, that's fear, and it's anxiously awaiting, like, so yeah, it's fear if you want to look at it like that, because it's also done out of love, because this needs to come out. These two poles doing something for the greater good of the world, because it needs to be done, and you can see it needs to be done, and doing things just for yourself or for your wife or for your kids, or like for pleasure. Those are two different things that we're talking about. One of them is out of love, this love energy, and one of them is not out of love and is looking the opposite way at love. It's a pussy, and it's scared of love. It's scared of the work that is required, and will just hide for years until it's reminded about how fucking important it is, and then fucking try to look at it again and realize how fucked up he is for being such a pussy. So when you do this, you have to be aware of ethos, pathos, and logos. They're basically a different language, so it's ethics, pity, and logic. But ethics is just to establish trust and credibility. Pathos is pity. That's just to inspire emotional response and get the audience to feel. And logos, the logic, is using reason in an argument and getting the audience to think. So that's what we're doing here. We're doing the trivium, we're doing the quadrivium, we're trying to get the audience to become the producer up to the point to where the entire world is made sense to the higher will. The common sense doesn't need to be 2 plus 2 equals 4. The common sense needs to be the spirit of the world wants freedom, and we're worshiping government and fucking dying, not growing as a species. That should be the common sense. Fuck fucking basic state school. That's how you get fucking shit like this. This stuff needs to be talked about in public, like, not just for fun. If not in public, at least on a public forum. The higher will is universal consciousness, love energy. And I have wrote about elevating consciousness, so I'm sorry to just throw this out here on Argue for Anarchy episode 1. I'm going to go ahead and say that to elevate the will is to elevate consciousness. The ultimate goal, alignment to love energy globally, as much as possible. It's been said at least 51%. Enough to create momentum for it to seem fucking right. Because right now you talk about this and people don't think it's right. The selfish will is to be balanced with higher will. I mean, the selfish will, that is, once again, actions that benefit an individual's prerogative, not necessarily the prerogative of the higher will. Not in alignment to that. I mean, essentially, it's like watching trash TV, not even looking for allegories or anything. It's like, I'm not looking in the background for symbolism, I'm looking in the background at that fat ass. So we want our will to be like elevated. We want our consciousness to be elevated. We don't want to be on this baser mode where this is the baser mode, this base consciousness that the social we are being programmed by social engineers. And that's mind control. These are mind control methodologies, and being a child as an adult is basically a good way to keep people from ever thinking there's a boogeyman. You know what I'm trying to say? They can't even see that evil is real. They think it's a fucking fantasy. Only in the movies. But imagine a pyramid and there's a light coming off the pyramid. That would be the higher will that we need to aspire to. Not like a will that just serves us like on this pile of dirt. Because look where that's gotten us. And there needs to be understanding of the solution is within ourselves, not within other people, and no one can save you. No one can save you. You have to realize this stuff and teach other people. You have to do it. And I'm not talking to myself. I do that a lot. I'll make something and just know I'll watch it again maybe, and I'll remind myself in the future, like, you should be doing this. But no, I'm talking to the audience. We need to progress towards our true value and fullest potential. That is the will of creation. It starts by getting out of the mess of slavery. Everyone on the same page. We need everyone on the same page. That government is slavery. And it takes more than just a few people in every city to say it. That's not what makes it true just because that many people are saying it. Oh, a whole bunch of people can say something true and it doesn't make it true. Say something is true and it doesn't make it true. And just because these small people that are being outnumbered by the rest of the world are trying to say this blast from the past, fucking old ass Christianity type sounding vibe, new age fucking hippie shit, they think like it's just a phase or a fad. That's because there's so many phases and fads in the world that it just seems like a whole nother one. They can't recognize the truth in it, and it might take a little bit for them to realize the severity of how much of what they think is actually put in their head. How much of what you think is actually put in your head. And the decisions that you make. I mean, I know a lot of people that have sent their kids to the military. And I know a lot of people that are in it voluntarily. And I know a lot of people that think that they're not going to shoot anyone and they can't, and that they're not going to die, and they're just going to get a big paycheck. They don't care. But all of those people, not one of them are considering the violence that they're condoning being a part of that device, that injustice device, that it's a modern day torture machine. And you're wrong. You're wrong for being in the military. Yeah. Gonna go ahead and I'm gonna admit that this is all I've got. I couldn't even make it to 30 minutes. Back next week.